He cried at the podium in 2016. His driver later said, under oath, he saw a backpack full of cash. And now, same man is a treasurer general of a political party in parliament. Welcome to Margins and Madness. I'm Ria, and honestly, I love you so much for being here. Today, we are in Hartbeespoort Dam in northwest South Africa. But first, let us understand who this man was before everything got complicated. Brian Molefe was genuinely impressive. His CV is top-notch. A political activist in the 1980s, then a career in finance and banking. By 2003, he was CEO of the Public Investment Corporation, growing those assets to 900 billion with a B by the time he left. Then, CEO of Transnet, South Africa's rail and freight company, where he oversaw a massive infrastructure expansion. So on paper, this man is the one you want running things. By the time he arrived at Eskom in April 2015, he was seen as a fixer, someone who got things done. And Eskom needed fixing. Load shedding had been brutal. The country was in darkness for hours every day, and businesses were screaming and throwing understandable tantrums. I mean, this was the era where your fridge and your relationship both had trust issues, because you never knew when the lights were coming back. So when Molefe walks in, the country's basically like, please, sir, just fix it. By this time, a fellow South African is as desperate as a man in a desert looking at a Sprite billboard for days. And Molefe, for a short time, appeared to work a miracle. Load shedding stopped. The country could breathe easy for a minute, but something else was happening at the same time. Something the public would only fully understand later. Because while Molefe was running Eskom, he was also, according to the evidence, very closely connected to the Gupta family. The Guptas were trying to buy a coal mine, a company called Optimum Coal Holdings, which had a massive contract to supply coal to Eskom. The mine was owned by Glencore, a global commodities giant. But there was a problem. Eskom had fined Optimum Coal Holdings 2.1 billion for supplying poor quality coal. That fine was sitting there, blocking the Guptas from buying it. Then, Brian Molefe became CEO of Eskom, and under his watch, that fine dropped from 2.1 billion to 254 million, a reduction of nearly 1.9 billion, right when the Guptas were negotiating to buy the mine. And then, Eskom gave the Gupta's new company, Tigeta, a 600 million prepayment for coal that had not yet been delivered. To help them complete the purchase, government money was used to help private businessmen buy a mine with a government coal contract. Zondo found that without the cooperation of Molefe as CEO, along with CFO Anuj Singh and Generation Head Machela Koko, none of this would have happened. But wait, there is more. Because the evidence about Molefe and the Guptas went beyond Optimum Coal. Thuli Madonsela, at the time public protector, a woman whose name I say with my whole chest because she did not flinch, investigated Eskom and found that between August and November 2015, Molefe's phone showed 19 calls to the Gupta's family home in Johannesburg, plus another 58 calls to a Gupta business associate between August 2015 and March 2016. 77 contacts. during the period when the Guptas were negotiating the Optimum Coal purchase. While Molefe was CEO of Eskom, that entity had a 2.1 billion claim against that very mine. Molefe resigned from Eskom in November 2016 after Madonsela's report. He stood at a press conference and he cried. He said he felt he had been done in. He said he had served South Africa his whole life. He wept. My sweet Hlanya love, I'm not going to make fun of a man crying, but I will say this. What followed suggested there were other things happening that day that were less about emotion and more about management. Because after he resigned, the Eskom pension fund tried to pay him a retirement package worth over 30 million. He was not entitled to it. The Gauteng North High Court ordered him to repay 10.3 million of that amount, and he had to be forced to give the money back. And then, in 2022, he was arrested. Corruption charges linked to 93 million allegedly diverted during a Transnet locomotives purchasing order. And I'm thinking, okay, that's rough. That's the story. Let's move on. But no. In June 2025, he was arrested again alongside former Transnet executives for fraud, corruption, and money laundering, a full course meal of charges with no sides. We are not talking small money here. Like, I don't even know what that invoice looks like. But I imagine somebody just added a few extra zeros and hoped nobody would check the math. And now, my Bengi darling, hold yourself. Brian Molefe is an elected member of parliament for the MK party, Jacob Zuma's party. He was appointed Treasurer General of that party in January 2026. The man accused of looting Eskom and Transnet, facing criminal charges, is now Treasurer General of a political party. Let's breathe. He has denied all wrongdoing.
Well, if you look at some of the reports, the Treasury report for one, for example.
What does it say?
Where it says there needs to be, for example, an investigation into some of the things that went wrong regarding
Is that an allegation,
well, it would be an allegation that there needs to be an investigation into certain things.
It's saying there's a need for an investigation is not an allegation.
So,
with respect, if we understand English. I'm still to understand what are the allegations against me. What is it that I have done wrong? What have I been accused of any unlawful actions? What are they?
He says the Zondo Commission relied on speculation. He says his relationship with the Guptas does not prove corruption. He is fighting the charges legally. He is innocent until proven guilty. But Zondo was specific about what he found, that Molefe was a primary architect of state capture at Transnet, that he facilitated the conclusion of irregular contracts at inflated prices to benefit Gupta companies, that he should be criminally prosecuted. There was also testimony, anonymous testimony, so I say it carefully, from Transnet security officers that said Molefe and other executives visited the Guptas and were later seen with bags of cash. And Molefe's own driver said he once saw Molefe's backpack full of rolls of 200 notes. Molefe dismissed the claim. He said the driver was mistaken. Maybe. I cannot know. But the driver told that story under oath in a commission of inquiry. And that story has never fully gone away. And the lesson for today is about something I call performance of reform. When Molefe arrived at Eskom, load shedding stopped. And that was real. That was not fake. The lights came on. The country was grateful. He looked like a hero. And that is exactly what made him so valuable to the people who needed cover. State capture did not use incompetent people. Some of the most dangerous participants in state capture were genuinely talented. People who could point to real achievements, real results, real improvements, and behind those improvements, a whole other set of activities that no one was supposed to see. Performance is not the same as integrity. Results are not the same as honesty. Someone who fixes one problem for you while quietly enabling a bigger problem for someone else is not a hero. There is something much more complicated. If you were celebrating the lights coming back on, would you have noticed what was happening behind the scenes? Thank you for watching, my sweet Bengi darling. Don't forget to be kind. Be a little bit weird. The world needs you just like that. Hit like and subscribe. See you on the next one. Love you.